Heyo, welcome back to the Undrafted and Unqualified Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Anthony. I'm here with Vinny. So we got to hop right into it today. We got another episode deep into August now, so a lot of content to keep pushing out towards you guys.
Yeah, today we're going to continue our wide receiver rankings. In our last episode, we did 24 to 13, so today will be 12 to 1. Yeah, I mean, you're going to recognize a lot of the names here, hopefully and obviously, but I think our rankings do differ a little bit from consensus on a few major guys, so it'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I think the plan for me is I might upload these kind of back to back, so you get the whole wide receiver rankings kind of all at once, maybe an hour apart or something like that. But yeah, they should be out on the same day, which will be good for you guys, just to have that content. But yeah, again, no news to talk about, so we can hop right into these top 12. So, just a little refresher. We had JSN at 13, right? So, we're hopping into these top 12 here. At 12, we have Lad McConkey, who we both have there. ECR has him at 11. ADP has him at 11. So, we're a spot lower. Um, Lad McConkey broke out as a rookie last year, looked amazing. He's got Justin Herbert throwing him the ball. He can kind of do it all. He's got, the skills to play on the outside. He can play in the slot. And for PPR, this guy's a machine. Going into year two, these are the guys we like. A couple names you'll hear soon in this episode, Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, two other rookies who broke out their rookie year. So going into their sophomore year, we are in on these guys going into year two. So I like Lad McConkey a lot. I think he's going to be great for PPR. I would be very happy with him on my fantasy football team. He's going in as a wide receiver 11 at the 2-3 turn right now, which I think is a pretty solid spot for him. Um, but I do have one concern with him. He was a little banged up so far through camp, so that concerns me. And then the fact they brought in Keenan Allen, I really do think Keenan Allen's going to have a role there. So I don't know if he's going to be just the guy and get all that volume that we love to see for receivers. But PPR wise, and with Herbert trusting him already, and Keenan Allen being older, I think he's still going to be very, very productive for fantasy this year.
Yeah, I feel like last year Lad kind of did everything in terms of what his ceiling could be, and it all just worked out perfectly. But the thing with him is, I think he could easily repeat that and build off of it. Yeah, you mentioned Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen is kind of someone to watch because he's only 2 years removed from 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns in that offense in like 14 games or something like that. So we know I don't think he's that Keenan Allen anymore, but that was only a couple years ago, so it is something to kind of monitor. But for the most part, like Lad does everything, like you mentioned, like he can go across the field, so that kind of opens up his ability to just stay on the field every down, and just be able to be Herbert's guy once again. So he's another guy that we just talked about Xavier Worthy in the last episode, where a crazy playoff performance that kind
Yeah.
of gets forgotten. Yeah, he had a similar line of like 180 and 2 touchdowns. So
Yeah.
yeah, lad's a beast, and um, definitely like him at this spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up that stat line because you got me curious now of exactly what he
Yeah, I
did.
think it was like 180 and a touchdown, maybe.
Oh, man. Um, he had 14 targets, 9 receptions for 197 and a touchdown. So
Jeez.
he was right there, almost 200.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So yeah, he was very productive. He also turned up throughout like the second half of the year, which you'd love to see. And he didn't play like this crazy snap count that you see with some receivers who are just on the field 80% of the time. He was, he had games where he was over 80, but he had plenty of games where he was in the 70s, couple 60s too. So, I think as long as he's on the field, like he's gonna be productive. He was the go-to guy last year for Justin Herbert. So I'm excited to see him going into year two. That's for sure.
Yep.
Wide receiver 11, T. Higgins. Both of us have T. Higgins right there. Um, ECR at 14, ADP at 13. So we are definitely higher than the consensus across the board. I think the thing for T. Higgins for me is part of that Bengals offense where they're going to be throwing a lot. We know this. We know you talked about the Bengals offense the other day where it's like Burrow could have a historic season with over 5,000 yards and we wouldn't be surprised.
Yep.
So I think just there's enough volume to go around. There is nobody else on that depth chart too. So the all the targets are going to be funneled to both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Um, Chase Brown will catch passes out of the backfield, but those are the two guys there. It's Chase and Higgins. And Higgins last year, the knock on Higgins is he's often injured. But when he was on the field last year, he was the wide receiver 4 in points per game. So we're talking about a guy who, when he's out there, he's producing as a top 5 guy for you. And he's going to be elite again. And he was a big touchdown guy for them last year, too. So I think T. Higgins, there's enough to go around for him. The points per game is there. The reason why I got him down at 11 is just because, the injury you do have to factor in. But, like looking at ADP, he's going behind Tyreek Hill right now and Lad McConkey, who two names we just mentioned. T's wide receiver 13 in ADP. We got him at 11. So T's going behind Tyreek Hill. This guy might be washed. This guy is not the same we've seen. And T. Higgins is producing at an elite level. And then Lad McConkey, too. All right, what's the offense going to look like? We know T's going to be on the field all the time, catching passes from Joe Burrow in an offense that's going to be throwing a lot because that defense is not very good. So, yeah, I like T a lot this year. And yeah, if he's going in the third round, I think that's a great spot to get him. I think it's pretty appropriately priced for him as well.
Yeah, no, I like T. Higgins a lot too. He feels like a guy that, his name alone gets him a lot of value just because he's just because of his ability, but he hasn't really put together that like fantasy season I think we all are hoping for this year. So that's a little worrisome, especially with the injuries the past couple of years. But I mean, I hate to rank a player based off of another player, but I'm just so high on Joe Burrow this year that the thing, if I like just the fact that he's a part of that offense, like you mentioned, I just think he has a chance to have a wide receiver 1, 2 year alongside with Jamar Chase. I think he can support two wide receiver ones, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, I love the talent of T. Higgins, but um, the worry is he has a huge ceiling. The worry is just the injury and past production not completely being there for where we're ranking him. But this feels like sort of a breakout year in like year 5 or 6. But
Yeah.
he hasn't truly had that breakout year, I feel like, that he's capable of.
Yeah, he's going into year 6. Last year was his best year in PPR, finishing at wide receiver 17, but that was in only 12 games, right? So if it's the
Too.
same defense, that might even be worse, and then still the same offense, like we're talking about a guy, as long as he's healthy, if he even plays 15 games, this guy's finishing top 12 easily. So I think we got him pretty appropriately priced. You never want to predict injuries or assume injuries are going to happen. So I think that's why we got him at a good spot here. But, 911 yards on 73 receptions last year and 10 touchdowns. Like, that's in the realm of outcomes again. And hopefully he can stay on the field this year. He's played 12 games the past 2 years, but he played almost full seasons the years prior, 17, 14, and 16. So it's not like this guy is completely injury prone. It's just
Yeah.
there's always something. So
Yeah, recently, I guess he has been, but
yeah, last 2 years, it's fair to bake it in a little bit.
yeah.
Okay, number 10 might be a little bit of a surprise here. The first one. So I also want to preface before we move on. I think, I don't want to speak for you here, but for me at least, these top 10 guys we're about to get into, I want one on my team. Like that's like one massive tier. And you can break them out into smaller tiers within this top 10. But after 10, I think there's a fall off, right? T. Higgins has questions. Then you got Lads got questions. JSN, there's questions around all these guys. I think these top 10 guys are alpha receivers who are going to be very productive with volume and everything. So, yeah, tell me if you feel the same way about that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I feel like when we once we start to get into this top 10, starting with Brian Thomas, it's I could imagine any of these guys finishing as wide receiver one, and I really wouldn't be that surprised. But I agree that like it does kind of feel like a need to get one of these guys, just because once you get past 13, it's one of those guys is my wide receiver one. It's getting a little risky because you really need to hit on that pick to kind of hit above ADP, or you need to have really good running backs. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that this is kind of a spot where it's you could get a lot of value even in the top 10 of wide receivers.
Yeah, we got T and Lad at 11 and 12, and I wouldn't really feel that confident with
Yeah,
either one of them as my wide receiver one. You get into the top 10, I'm loving it. So
yep,
I
yep,
think it's just important to bring up here because as we get into these top 10, these are the elite of the elites going into this year.
yep.
And do your best to get one on your team. So as Vinny said, number 10, we got Brian Thomas Jr. I have him at 10. Vinny has him at 9. ECR up at 8. ADP, he is also up at 8. So we're a couple spots lower. He's currently going in the early second, which that's a little scary to me. I'm down a couple spots, and the reason being is he was most productive last year with Mac Jones, not Trevor Lawrence. So I'm a little worried in that regard, honestly. I like, let me pull up some stats here for you, but um yeah, he was super productive. He had a crazy target share. He was up to like 32% at one point, but it felt like it was with Mac Jones and because there was no one else there. They just drafted Travis Hunter at number 2, who based on the first preseason game, he played 7 of 8 offensive snaps with the first team. So he's going to be right there with Brian Thomas. I think he's still the one, Brian Thomas, and he's still going to be the guy out there, but we're talking about a guy who was super productive just because he volumed his way there. Like he was upper 80s, 90% of snap counts, and this guy was getting a ton of targets. Like through week 13 through 18, he had double digit targets every week. I don't remember if Trevor Lawrence played any of those games, but regardless, these targets are through the roof, and I just don't know if that repeats. Like Travis Hunter being there and then Trevor Lawrence. I'll do a little digging here while you start talking about him, but I'm just worried because I know most of his production came with Mac Jones.
Yeah, that is I could see that being a worry, but at the same time, it almost feels like we might be overthinking a little bit in that context. Like, you know what I mean? He
Yeah.
did do better with Mac Jones, which I think we would all agree that Trevor Lawrence is a much superior talent than Mac Jones. So, like, you'd hope that they kind of figure that weird kind of outlier out, and continues that play with Trevor Lawrence, who's capable of making throws that Mac Jones can't. So that's one thing that I feel like we might be overthinking. And the Travis Hunter thing, I think you definitely have to consider just because they wouldn't take a guy number 2 overall to not throw him the ball. And it seems like he's going to be primarily on offense. So that is a little worrisome. But again, I mean, Liam Cohen coming in and just thinking about the possibilities of what he did with those guys in Tampa, like playing a Mike Evans role or something like that, it could just be outrageous. So, um, I do kind of feel like Liam Cohen could turn one of those guys where we just trust Liam Cohen and so I feel like this is another guy that like he could finish as the number 1 receiver overall, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, like that makes sense. But this would be a little bit of a reach, but I think he has so much potential, and like that rookie season, I don't think is just an outlier. I think he's going to continue to be on this pace for his whole career. So, yeah, there's a wide range of outcomes for Brian Thomas, but the talent's there, and I feel like maybe we're just overthinking the situation a little too much.
Yeah, I personally don't think he'll get to number 1, but top
Yeah,
five, top five wouldn't shock me, right? This guy
yep,
finished at
exactly.
4 last year. Um, but yeah, I looked up what you were talking about what he did last year with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence played weeks 1 through 9. he didn't get a single game with double-digit targets. So every game with Mac Jones, he had double-digit targets. It was like two completely opposite like
Yeah.
situations for him. And yes, he's a rookie starting off, but like he was matchup proof with Mac Jones. Like he torched the Jets last year. Tennessee was really good against receivers and quarterbacks. Um, so he was completely matchup proof, and he was elite. It was just it wasn't the same when it was Trevor Lawrence. Although, again, he's still such an elite talent. Like he had some good games against Houston in week 4. He had 9 for 86, or sorry, 6 for 86 and one. Um, 9 targets. Week 5 against Indy, he had 5 for 122 and one. So the talent's there. I'm not knocking this guy, but I'm bypassing him for some of the other guys we'll mention in just a second here.
That's fair. Yeah.
Number 9, we got Puka Nakua. I have him up at 6. Vinny has him down at 10. Puka, we're definitely lower on. ECR, he's at 6. ADP, he's at 4. So this guy is going very high. We have him down at 9 in our combined rankings. Vinny's pulling him down a little bit, but I think there's good reason. Puka for me started up really high at I think he was my 4 to begin, the rankings this offseason, but the Stafford injury, it's scary, I'll be honest. It's really scary the back issues he's having, and they're like, "Oh, he's going to practice." Well, he didn't practice the other day when they said he was going to. So that's a worry of mine. Also, we got to factor in Devontae Adams is there. And while I do believe Puka's going to be the one, it wouldn't surprise me if Devontae Adams is. So I'm still anticipating Puka just the talent. He's so good. He really is just so good. He's such a dog too. Like he's out making diving catches his rookie year, and we're like, who the hell is this guy? It's like sixth
Yeah.
rounder out of BYU. But yeah, the talent's there, and I think he has the opportunity to be just an absolute dog again this year in fantasy. I'm just also baking in a little risk. Even with my ranking of 6, I'm baking in a little bit of risk with the injury to Stafford because if Jimmy's the quarterback, I am not looking forward to that for either one of these receivers over there in LA.
Yeah, for me, I mean, the Stafford thing definitely is something on the radar, but part of me just feels like, the guy's close to 40 years old. I don't think practice right now means much to him. So, like, I'm not reading too much into missing practices. But if that issue becomes an in-season worry, then, like you said, I completely agree. It affects these guys dramatically. But for Puka specifically, I think I have him lower than consensus, mostly because of how much I, like Devontae this year. I still think he can be very capable in having 1,000 yard, 10 touchdown season. And I think that just kind of hinders Puka's ceiling. I think he can only go so high, whereas, you know, like you could compare to the Jamar Chase T. Higgins situation. I could see both of them excelling just because of how Burrow and the Bengals run their offense. But with the Rams, I just don't see it being as explosive for Stafford. I don't see him going for like 35 plus touchdowns. So I just think that hinders, both Puka and Devontae to finish at a super high spot. So for me, drafting Puka that high just felt too much if his ceiling's capped in my mind. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of lower on him compared to consensus.
Yeah, that's fair. They do like to run the ball in the red zone with Kyron. There's a reason he's finished the last 2 years straight at the RB7.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of his stats from last year. Puka, he's like matchup proof.
Yeah.
He
He's
was
a target
so good. He's a
machine.
target hog too.
Yeah.
And I also want to bring that up too because with Adams there, it's like okay, Adams still has it probably, but Cup was there and he had it through what was it like week 14, something like that. He really kind of only became obsolete the last 4 weeks of the season. So
Mhm.
he's still going to get targets even with Adams there. It will definitely be interesting to see how they kind of split. But more importantly to me, he only played 11 games last year. He got hurt early in week one, and then he didn't come back until week 8, where he played 57% of snaps. I think he was hurt again week 9. He only played 35% of snaps, and he was fine from week 10 on out. But the injury, like I feel like Puka's always questionable, because he's got so much of the dog in him. He's like he's laying out, he's just
Yeah.
attacking guys. Like think about Tyler Lockett on the other side of things. Like that dude will fall down all the time. You never have to worry about him getting injured. But
Yep.
yeah, again, I'm not assuming or projecting an injury, but he did only play 11 games last year, so it's
Yeah, I feel like part of the steep price is just because he has such a high floor. I mean, the guy you could basically pencil in 15 points a week just based off of the pure volume he gets. But for me, if you're gonna draft a guy that high, like I guess the floor sort of expected in my mind. I just want some upside, and Puka has that. I just don't know on a game to game basis how often that upside will like really kick in. So, but yeah, I
yeah.
can see the reasoning in definitely drafting him high, but I guess just not for me this year.
He's got a very high floor and high ceiling. Like if he
Yeah.
finished top three, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. He's going at the 107 currently. It's a little rich for my liking. Um, but I've also seen him go in round two in recent mocks across some media and stuff. So that I'd be very happy to get him there because some people I think are factoring in the Stafford injury and things like that. So yeah, just play the board. If Puka falls to the second, grab him. He's a steal at that point.
Yeah.
Wide receiver 8, we have AJ Brown. I have him at 9. Vinny's got him at 7. ECR at 10, ADP at 9. So we're a little bit higher on him collectively at wide receiver 8. AJ Brown is just one of those guys. I feel like we're in for a bounce back season from him. I really do. Like they were winning so many games last year that they just really didn't have to throw the ball. They had the lowest number of pass attempts last year, and then they won the Super Bowl. Like they were just that good of a team. Defense is a little different. Um, you know, I think it's a little bit of a tougher schedule for them. So I think they're going to be passing and it'll be just fine. AJ Brown only played 13 games last year, still finished at wide receiver 20. But the previous 2 years, when he got to Philly, it was number 6 and number 5 receiver with 145 and 158 targets. And
Yeah.
he's a touchdown threat too, so just looking at last year, there were a lot of ups and downs with him, which was kind of like, well, you're not happy where you drafted him because you were drafting him middle of the first round last year. But, I'm kind of anticipating a little bit of a bounce back for them as a whole, as a passing offense. I love AJ Brown. I love the talent. I think who was it recently that said, was it might have been Saquon. Somebody said he's the best receiver in the NFL. And it's like the talent's there. Maybe the production wasn't last year, but the talent is, and I love betting on talent. So,
Yeah.
yeah, AJ Brown comes in for me at 9, just because there's a couple guys I like more. I am a little concerned with the passing volume that the Eagles had last year, but yeah, if that volume goes up at all, I think it's going to be a nice season for AJ Brown.
Yeah. No, super high on AJ Brown this year. I actually just traded for him in a dynasty league because I really feel like he could be one of these like Mike Evans kind of prototypes where that body isn't slowing down anytime soon. So it's really as long as he wants to do it, and like injuries aside, he's capable of doing it. But this year especially, I completely agree with the bounce back year. I mean, I feel like last year was a little bit of an outlier. I mean, it won them a Super Bowl, but in terms of how they were kind of playing football the past 2 years, I'm definitely run heavy. But yeah, even with that kind of less target share or less targets overall, he still dominated the target share. He's the guy there. So yeah, I mean, feels like a great spot to get him for a bounce back year. I mean, I'd feel super comfortable grabbing a running back, and then him as my receiver one. I'd feel great about it. And then if you go receiver, him as your wide receiver two would just be ridiculous. So however you want to do it, I think, drafting AJ Brown will definitely return on your value.
Yeah, he's going at the 205, right? So almost a full round later than he was last year. So I think, like you said, that's a great spot to get him. Um, yeah, I was gonna mention one other thing with AJ Brown. Oh, the target share you mentioned, like he's still the guy there. So is Devontae Smith. Like the two of them are just gonna eat up all the targets, right? So the volume's lower last year by a lot, so we can hopefully see some more volume from Hertz this year, and there will be enough to go around between the two of them. And then also AJ Brown, they draw things up for him in the red zone. If they're passing, it's going to AJ Brown like every time. Devontae Smith isn't going to get as many touchdowns because he's getting them when it's like 25 yards out. But when they're in the red zone and they're passing the ball, again, I really think they are going to go run heavy and give it to Saquon, but he still had 7 touchdowns last year. Was it? Yeah, wait, let me double check on that.
AJ? Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
he had 7 touchdowns last year within 13 games. Like I love that. He is dealing with an injury right now. I think it is the hamstring again, so hopefully that clears up
Yep.
before the drafts start. But yeah, I think he's kind of a nice value at the 205. Wide receiver 7. Drake London, who we both have at 8, he just edges out AJ Brown. Drake London's 9 in ECR, and he is 10 in ADP, going at the 207. I'm very in on Drake London. The more I think about it, the more in I am on him. Last year I was out. I'm like, this is not a good offense. Why are we projecting him to? We're almost taking him out of ceiling. And then he was going at what, like wide receiver 11 last year, and he finished as the wide receiver 5 in PPR. So it's like this dude had 158 targets, 100 receptions, 1,271 yards, 9 touchdowns. He was super consistent. Very nice to have on your team. This is a team that's going to throw. They're turning a new leaf. They're bringing in Michael Penix, and he's going to be the full-time quarterback for them this year. And through 3 games at the end of the year when he was the quarterback, he had 10 points, 17 points, and then a 40 burger. So, like this guy got 18 targets in week 18, 13 in week 17, 8 the week before. Like he's going to be very productive. I think he's going to eat up targets. Also, when we talk about eating up targets, so far we've mentioned a couple guys who have somebody else there. AJ Brown, there's Devontae Smith, low passing volume. Puka Nacua, there's Devontae Adams, who you're big on. Brian Thomas Jr., they drafted Travis Hunter. Drake London, well, the next receiver up is Darnell Mooney, who the injury sounds worse than it seemed to be at first because they're saying they hope he's back at some point this season. Like
Wow.
that's the latest news on him. So you're telling me that Ray McCloud is their wide receiver too, and Drake London's not going to get like uber targeted. It also makes
Yep.
me feel a little bit in on Pitts because Pitts is their number 2 guy now behind
Yep.
London. But yeah, London is the one, and it's not even close. London is going to get so much volume. Like I would be happy with him at the 1-2 turn, to be honest with you. Like I feel
Yep.
that confident in him. Um, so yeah, I just think he's gonna volume his way to such a productive season and the talent. He's like Mike Evans. He's that kind of guy where he's gonna get those
Yep.
jump balls and everything. He looks good in camp so far. I'm very big fan of Drake London this year, and honestly, he's kind of a target for me.
Yeah, no, I like Drake London a lot. A lot of the same reasons you mentioned, where, those last 3 games especially, showed a lot. I mean, I think you could say week 18 was a little bit of an outlier. Like he just shredded Carolina, but the whole team was just going off. But I mean, yeah, I think it has to say something. Like Penix threw the ball to him 18 times that game. Like, and in those 3 weeks, he led the league in targets. So, I mean, yeah, it's all there for him. The target share, the volume, um, red zone ability. So, yeah, unless Penix turns out to be like a major bust, which in the short time he played last year, I don't think will be the case. I think he'll at least be able to support Drake London, which is kind of all that really matters in terms of fantasy. So yeah, I mean it's all there for Drake London, and he showed he could do it last year. So I think he could top that this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he might be the first guy that we've mentioned so far that, well, no, Puka, I wouldn't be surprised top three, but Drake London top three would not shock me at all.
No, yeah, I can see that too.
Nico Collins comes in at wide receiver six for us. I got him at seven. Vinny's up at six, seven in ECR, seven in ADP. So we're right there. Vinny, you got him at six. Reason you want
Yeah,
a spot higher?
yeah, I got yeah. So one spot higher than ETR. But yeah, I think in a past episode I said I wouldn't feel comfortable with Nico as my first round pick. Um, I still like with the board available, I think that's still true. I don't know if I'd take him in the first necessarily. But I just think, I kind of looked at it again and the upside is just so high. I mean, it's one of those things where Stroud just, trusts him very heavily. He's gonna give him the targets. And in a fully healthy season, um, he could just torch the league. I think this is the first guy for me where I think he could finish as the wide receiver one. Overall, I wouldn't really be that surprised. The rookies don't really scare me, Higgins and Noel. I think it says something about their plan, but overall, Nico's just like a different talent than those guys. He can do everything. So it doesn't really worry me of kind of taking targets away from him. I think he'll just create them on his own. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like everything doesn't even need to go right, and he could have a really good year. But if everything does go right, he could be wide receiver one overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I could get to wide receiver one overall, but again, top three, I would not be surprised. Like this
Mhm.
guy, before he got hurt, 8 targets, 10 targets, 10 targets, 15 targets. And he's just the dude. Like in those games, he had 117 yards, 135 yards, 86 yards, 151 yards. Like he wasn't the same guy when he got back from injury, but man, this guy is talented and he's going to get a lot of production, a lot of volume. So, yeah, I'm not super scared about the rookies either. I think Jaden Higgins is going to be the other guy on the outside. Jalen Noel, I haven't heard much about him kind of really stepping in right away. I think they may end up going Christian Kirk in the slot for the time being. But yeah, Stroud's going to pass the ball and it's going to go to Nico. Like he's the first read every single time. And Stroud's talented, right? I feel like fantasy wise has made us cool off on Stroud as a player, an NFL player, but I think Stroud's still like borderline
Yeah.
top 10 NFL quarterback. So
Yeah.
I think you have a great situation for Nico Collins, and the volume's going to be exciting. He's another guy where I'd love to take him wherever. Him and Drake London to me feel very similar in terms of they're going to get a lot of volume. They have high floors, exciting players. Nico's just a couple spots higher though. He's going at the 202. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that's a great spot for him, though. I've seen a lot of people say, "Hey, go H and Nico at the turn if you get the 111." Whew, that's a dangerous start. That's a
That'd
dangerous.
be scary. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't mind that at all.
No.
Wide receiver five, Amon-Ra St. Brown. We both have at five, five in ECR, five in ADP. So yeah, everything's the same this time around. He's going to be steady. He's going to be really steady. I think he finished as, I believe, the wide receiver three both of the last 2 years. Let me just double check that. Yep. Wide receiver three each of the last 2 years, seven, 3 years ago. So he's been productive. He's been doing it. He's on the field. He's getting it done. He's just going to be there all the time and he's going to be productive regardless of the situation. Ben Johnson leaving, it's a little concerning, right? What does the offense kind of look like without him? Jameson Williams, people are saying breakout. Well, that might mean he takes a little bit away from Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he feels so far to me like the highest floor guy. While I love Drake London and Nico Collins and think they have high floors, and they might be more exciting than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Amon-Ra's got the highest floor for sure. Like you just know what you're getting out of him. It's a high-powered offense, even without Ben Johnson. Like I think you can't go wrong drafting Amon-Ra.
Yeah, no, I feel like honestly, when you were reading back his stats and finishes in fantasy, he feels a little underrated in terms of like what he's been doing the past 3 seasons. Yeah, he's super safe pick. This is kind of one that, sim even honestly, I feel even better about Amon-Ra. Well, obviously because I have them higher ranked, but like when we were talking about a safe pick in Puka, like kind of know what you're getting. I feel even better about Amon-Ra, where like it feels kind of boring, like you mentioned, taking him in the first. It's not as, spicy as taking Malik Neighbors and kind of shooting for that crazy upside. But Amon-Ra, you can like pencil in for 1,200 yards and 10 plus touchdowns. So, it's going to be a really safe pick that, you know, I feel comfortable taking in the first round for sure.
Yeah, he's going at the 108 right now, which I think that's a pretty good spot for him. I think he was the 106 last year, so maybe a few spots lower, but that's baking in the fact that Ben Johnson's gone. So I don't think that's a crazy thing to have there. Wide receiver four, hold on to your seats for this one. We got Justin Jefferson. I have him at three. Vinny's got him at four. Um, ECR's got him down at three, but ADP he's up at two. He's going at the 104 in drafts currently. Vinny, why do you have him down at four?
Yeah, I think for me it's the guys ahead of him. It doesn't really have to do much with Justin Jefferson. I guess, I just looked at the situations ahead. Um, I don't know. I feel like everyone kind of said like, Kevin O'Connell's this QB whisperer. Um, I guess I just have to see it with JJ McCarthy. I don't know. I'm not as convinced and on board as everyone is. This guy's going to be a superstar. Now, with that being said, I don't like, I still have Jefferson at four. I don't think it takes a superstar for him to have a good fantasy year. He's shown that he's kind of done it with everyone. He's matchup proof. So these four here, like, I guess Jamar's the obvious one for us and a lot of other people, but these four guys feel interchangeable for me. It's just kind of how it fell, based on, sort of the quarterback situation for Jefferson that has me a little worried. And it's also a crowded receiving room a little bit. Addison's out for 3 games. When he does come back, he is a guy that, demands targets, and then Hawkinson at tight end. So I guess just compared to other situations, um, he just kind of ended up at four for me.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy take. I think it's not too super crowded though either because it's Jalen Nailor behind Addison. But yeah, I was just looking at his fantasy finishes. He only played 10 games in 2023, so he finished at wide receiver 33 on the year. But in four other healthy seasons since coming in the league, his worst finish was his rookie year in 16 games at wide receiver six. So this guy is quarterback proof, matchup proof. Like
Yeah,
you bet on the talent. Justin Jefferson, in my eyes, is the second best receiver in the league. You could argue one, but it's kind of hard to say he's the one after Jamar Chase just got the triple crown.
yeah,
But I wouldn't even be mad. I wouldn't argue you either if you're like, Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in the league. Like he's just that good. And then Kevin O'Connell, Josh Dobbs was producing. Nick Mullins was producing. Like I'm really not worried about JJ McCarthy being at least successful enough for Justin Jefferson. The reason I got him down at, I have him at three. The reason I have him there is because of the current injury, the hamstring injury. He's not playing this week. He's not being reevaluated until next week. So that's through two of three preseason games. He's not on the field at all. It's not like, oh, I need to see JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson there. Like they'll figure it out, right? He's just that talented. It's not like some guy who's not as talented as Jefferson. You want to see it. This guy, they're gonna get him the ball regardless. But I don't want to be drafting somebody who's injured personally. And at the 104, it kind of feels like there's a couple other guys I'd rather take and not go into the year with a guy who's dealing with a hamstring injury. So yeah, Jefferson is he's a guy where you can't go wrong with him at all. Like you could take him to 101 this year and I'd be like, okay, cool.
yep,
It's just I'm baking in the current injury he's dealing with that's really got me putting him down below ADP by a spot.
yeah, that's fair. I was just looking at his season. when he had the, or when was it, in 2022, 1,800 yards. He's a beast.
Yeah.
I think, the next guy we're going to talk about is the main reason I had him at four, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to him.
Yeah. Jefferson's more talented than this next guy. But yeah, we
Yeah,
got
I think that's safe to say.
yeah, we have Malik Neighbors at wide receiver three. I have him at four. Vinny's at three. We put him here. We wanted to change it up, be a little different than ADP if we're being honest. But
Yep.
I think you could also say it's because we're baking in the fact that he's currently got a hamstring injury. At the same time, Neighbors dealing with the toe injury. So you have to bake that in as well when trying to draft these guys. Neighbors, however, Neighbors was a guy, again, just like Jefferson. You have to take away the quarterback situation and just say this guy is that talented, like it doesn't matter. He finished through 15 games at the wide receiver six last year as a rookie. They're saying he's like Jamar Chase light, which he low-key is. Like he's that talented.
Mhm.
The Giants have a quarterback upgrade. And then we're talking about volume here. Like there's nobody else there. But even Wandale Robinson had 130 targets last year. Like there was a ton of volume going to other guys. And Malik Neighbors still at 170 targets, 109 receptions, 1,200 yards, seven touchdowns. Like we could be talking eight, nine touchdowns, 1,500 yards, and targets are closer to 185. Like I think just the volume is going to be insane for him this year. And I know you're a little bit higher than I am on Neighbors. I am a little worried about the toe because that's been bothering him since college. But yeah, it's just another situation. Neighbors and Jefferson, they're both quarterback proof, matchup proof. The talent's there. Um, they're both just dealing with an injury at the moment.
Yeah, no, so Neighbors is the main reason that I bumped Jefferson down to four, just because I think he's just in for a massive season. I mean, you mentioned 185. I think he goes north of 200 targets. Like I think that's in the realm of possibility. Like you mentioned, like were an offense that did throw the ball a lot, but it just wasn't functional. They just weren't, having big plays. They weren't getting first downs. It was just kind of like pointless, just slinging the thing around when they're down 30 points last year. So, I mean, I think this year the offense is going to be a lot more functional and there will be meaningful targets, which means more red zone opportunities. So, all in all, I think just opportunities to score fantasy points will increase from last year, and he'll do more with the targets. So, yeah, I just think he could have a ridiculous season. My hot take was that he finishes the wide receiver one overall. So, yeah, I mean, pretty much the main reason why he edged out Jefferson for me, which is crazy to think because of how talented we mentioned Jefferson being. But the volume just seems to have a much higher upside than Jefferson's, which is crazy to think about. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is wild. I mean, we're just talking about these guys though. Like Jefferson at four seems ridiculous because it's like these guys are all so talented, could have so much
Yeah.
volume. Like I said before we got into the top 10, really any of these guys, like as your wide receiver one, you're gonna be very happy with. And I think you're gonna be like in for a really good ride this season if you get one of
Yep.
these guys.
Yep.
Wide receiver two. We have CeeDee Lamb, who we both have at two. ECR's got him up at two now. ADP's at three, going at the 106. Um, yeah, I think first we talk about him being at the 106 in ADP. He's ranked there on ESPN, and I have the pick three in my ESPN league this year. And CeeDee Lamb is very much in consideration for me right there. This guy is going to get a lot of volume. He finished at wide receiver eight last year, one the year before, five the year before that. He finished at eight last year in 15 games with Cooper Rush as his quarterback and a banged up shoulder, where, when that all kind of started surfacing, oh, he's injured. Oh, Dak's out. It's Cooper Rush. Like, oh, trade CD away for even Debo Samuel. Get something for him. He still was productive. I think that's the craziest part to me. Like, I think Dak played four games last year before he went out, and it wasn't the best thing in the world for CD. Like he had 10 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets, 8 targets, but he's still the guy. He's the main guy there. They bring in Pickens, who I think opens up the offense for him even more, right? Who was the two for CD Lamb last year?
Um,
Was it Cooks?
Maybe, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't even know, but
Yeah.
I guess it was Ferguson who like
Yeah.
was the receiving option. But yeah, I don't know about receiver wise.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, like we're talking about a major upgrade from Pickens,
Yeah.
from whoever it was to Pickens. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. It kind of feels like it's like T. Higgins opening up the floor for Jamar Chase, right? Like having a good wide receiver too sometimes doesn't mean it's taking away from the number one guy. It can, but when you have an offense that passes with so much volume, I think it's just beneficial for them. So, CD going into the year now, like it was ridiculous how well he played with a hurt shoulder and Cooper Rush. And now we're going into a year where that defense is terrible, like really, really bad. Micah Parsons is currently holding out. He's not practicing with the team. How bad could this defense be? I mean, it could be bad, bad. Not as bad as the Bengals, but it might be right there. And I think this team plans to pass the ball. They are getting a healthy Dak back. CD's coming back healthy. That's a recipe for success right there. Pickens is there. They bring him in because they want to pass the ball. If they really wanted to run the ball, they would have gotten somebody other than Javonte Williams and drafting Jaden Blue. Like they are definitely a pass first offense, and I think it's going to be a huge, huge year for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I think it's a similar reason to Malik Neighbors for me, where, the last time CD and Dak were playing like meaningful games, because to me with Cooper Rush, you're not playing a meaningful game. That's not your normal offense. It's hard to kind of lock in on what you would normally do.
Yeah,
The last time him and Dak played like a full season together, CD went for 1,812 touchdowns. So I mean, I think there's a lot to say with that like they bring in Pickens. Their offense is going to be moving a lot better, even just alone with Dak at at quarterback. So when these guys like start to get back to their normal offense, I wish that more people baked in kind of his end of the season last year more than they are. It seems like people are smart enough to realize like what this guy did 2 years ago. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna get back to that form. Even if he's half of that, like if he has 1,410, like that's a top five finish. So yeah, I think he's just in for a big bounce back year. And again, this is another guy that wide receiver one overall is not wouldn't be a surprise at all.
yeah, no, this wouldn't shock me at all. I'm looking back here and kind of laughing. So 2 years ago when he finished at number one, let me preface this first. There's a lot of green, like a lot of easy matchups for them, but there were three hard ones. One where it was against like a middling ranked team. Through the first six, he was like targets were all right, like nothing crazy. But weeks 8 through 18, he had 2 weeks with single digit targets, and it was 9 each week. Like
Wow.
he was a monster. Like
Yeah,
this
he's a
dude,
beast.
he had week 17 against Detroit, 13 for 227 and a touchdown. He was scoring almost every week. Like I
Yep.
don't I don't think that repeats. Like he had 400 plus fantasy points. Like that you don't see that. But he had 181 targets that year, 135 receptions, like 12 touchdowns. I think the touchdowns come up this year. And yeah, I think there's just going to be so much to go around for him and Pickens. So
Yep.
I'm excited for CD. Like I said, I'm considering him at the 103.
I think that'd be a great spot if Bijan goes.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I feel. If it's Jamar Bijan, CD's in the conversation with Saquon and Christian McCaffrey for me. Um,
Yeah.
but if Bijan's there, I'm going Bijan for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Number one, no surprise, Jamar Chase. He's number one in ECR, number one in ADP. He's going at the 101. This isn't a shocker at all. He just got the triple crown. He's in an offense where, as we've talked about already today with T. Higgins, this offense is going to throw a lot. The the starting defense got torched by the Eagles' backup quarterback in Tanner McKee in their preseason game week one. Um, it's going to be a rough year for the Bengals defense, which means they're going to have to throw. I think there's nobody safer to pick than Jamar Chase. We haven't seen a repeat guy finish at the number one spot at wide receiver since I think it was 16-17 or 15-16 with Antonio Brown. One of those
Yep.
but again, that's about 8 to 10 years ago. Like it's been a minute. I think we have a very possible chance that Jamar repeats this year. Um, he's so good. The talent is there, the offense, the stats, the volume, everything is there for him. The pieces are just going to be there, and he's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. There's really not much to say about Jamar Chase. He's easily the 101 this year.
Yeah, no, it is crazy because I feel like at the start of last year, he had that whole contract thing going on. He had finished outside the top 10 in fantasy those past two seasons. And people are starting the narrative of like, is Jamar Chase like overrated? Like, and then he just goes out and has one of the best receiving years ever for a receiver. So yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, the repeat thing, that kind of thought we talked about, it almost made me want to put someone else at 101 in terms of the receiving. But again, the guy had such a good year that you can't like, and it's a situation that could possibly get better somehow with like a
Yeah.
fully healthy Joe Burrow for a full season off season together. I mean, even in their preseason game, they played one drive together or
Yeah.
two, maybe I
Oh,
think, and he just threw him like a 40-yard touchdown.
yeah.
So, yeah, they're not going to slow down at all. Um, he could easily finish as the wide receiver one overall 2 years in a row. And we wouldn't blink. So yeah, I think I would consider Bijan at the 101 overall in terms of a draft, but yeah, it's between those two, and I wouldn't blame anyone for leaning heavily towards Jamar.
Yeah. Um, I just want to bring this up. Going into last year's draft, right? It was Tyreek and CD as the first two receivers. Then it was, I think, Amon Ra, and then we're talking, Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown after that. I remember putting AJ Brown above Jefferson. But I think I had Chase at three. I'm like, he feels like a value at the 106, 107. And I didn't get him anywhere. But, it was just one of those situations where you kind of got to view like the talent in there and everything. Like some of
Yep.
these other receivers we've talked about today are going to end up being a value just because like all the pieces are there, right? Like for Jamar Chase last year, he still got Burrow. The contract situation got resolved, and people didn't bump him up because even after it got resolved, it was like, all right, well, Jamar is just he's that dude, man. Like
Yep.
you can't go wrong with that. So yeah, I mean that'll wrap up our wide receiver rankings, but. Man, grab one of these top 10 guys if you can, honestly, and figure out who you like more than the others. Play the ADP, right? Play the values. But yeah, I think this is the situation you really want them. I'm really leaning CD at the 103 because I'm worried one of these guys won't be on the come around if I don't take CD at 3. So, you know,
Yeah, for
that
for
what you
me,
do.
I feel like I completely agree that there's a clear tier drop off after 10. But I feel like the best, case scenario based on draft spot, is to grab a running or grab receiver, running back potentially. And then, getting one of these top 10 guys and then going running back, still kind of in that elite run back tier. And then kind of gamble on a few wide receiver twos and threes. But yeah, this is a group that you don't want to miss on one of these top 10 guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and just play the board too. Like if you get a wide receiver in the first round and then Derrick Henry's falling because Derrick Henry always falls in a PPR league and the age and everything, like man, Derrick Henry's still going to be really productive in a PPR league. It doesn't really matter. So make sure
Yep.
you're playing your board. But yeah, do your best to get one of these guys because I feel the most confident if I have one of these guys on my team.
Yep.
All right. Next episode, we will be doing our tight end rankings. We'll be doing top 12. So you'll see that. probably sometime the next week. So this episode and both wide receiver episodes you'll see about the same time, and then tight ends you'll see a little bit after that. But yeah, looking forward to doing that one as well. That'll wrap up our rankings, and then after that, I think it's our My Guys episode. So that'll be a lot of fun. Putting our chips in on three players each and saying, this is who we're buying in on. I'll bring up the three I had last year. I had a 1 out of 3 hit rate. So I'll talk about them briefly, but I'll explain why maybe for a minute as well. But that'll be a fun episode. And then we're almost there. That almost takes us right to
Yeah, it's
season.
crazy.
So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace, everyone.